Morning, Rob.
Happy holidays, Wade. How are you doing, Santa Wade?
Oh, life is always good. Life is always good here.
How
How's
cold
things
is it
over
out
there?
there? Well, it's
It's actually not that cold. It is this morning. I think it's like 50 degrees, maybe 40.
not bad. It's still kind of warm out here in the Philippines. But aside from that, it's Christmas season, meaning that there's a lot of traffic and a lot of things to look forward to. But of course, since it's Christmas season, who better to have than the very own Santa Claus of occultism? Because if you walked in on Christmas Day and opened up a book and you were given this for Christmas, whoever gave it to you really loves you. Aside from the other amazing works he's done and the stuff he's contributed with his famous saying of, "It's all in your head. Just have no idea how big your head is." Without any further ado, I want to bring in our guest of honor, our season ender, the legendary, the eloquent, and the kind-hearted Mr. Lon Milo Duquette. Good morning, Mr. Duquette.
Good morning, and it's a chilly morning here too. So it froze last night, Wade.
Oh,
So
I don't think it froze here, but it did yesterday. Had a little bit of frost on my car, and it's not terribly cold. I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania where we would have 2-3 feet of snow in the morning, so this is a considerable improvement.
yeah, but anyway, well, thank you guys for having me on, and
Well, thanks for being here.
I'm almost awake, and my wife should be coming in here with a cup of tea for me pretty soon. But anyway, I'm almost here.
Yeah, of course, you're still in the astral realm until the coffee kicks in. I always tell that I'm still in the astral. Let me get a couple of shots in, and I should be fine. So, Mr. Duquette, thank you. Before we even start, just thank you not just for being on the show, but for the priceless works that you have contributed to the study of magic and occultism throughout the years. Your Enochian vision magic set the way for so many people to actually take that practice, which is very advanced, and apply it to their personal lives. With that being said, I'd like to know more about you, Mr. Duquette. What started the legendary Lon Milo? What got you on your path to magic, to occultism? Where did it all begin for you?
I don't know. When I was delirious with food poisoning, I think, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, maybe. Well, no, I was even younger than that. I had a terrible fever, and I looked up. I was laying in bed, sweating in the middle of the night, and everything was dark. And I looked at the foot of the bed, and Jesus was standing there.
Jesus already. Okay, please continue.
And it freaked me out because I had been terrorized by the thought of, if I die before I wake, the prayer I was forced to pray as a child. And it always creeped me out. I didn't like that prayer. And I really didn't want any kind of ghost God to take my soul before I before I was old enough to know who I was, And so I looked up at the foot of the bed and I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sick that Jesus is coming to take my soul." And I was all freaked out. And I spent a terrible, terrible night under the covers, sweating, only to discover in the morning that it wasn't Jesus. It was just my mother's dress that was hung from the door there. And I guess that's where it began, with my realization that part of what I was taught about spiritual things was total BS. And
Jesus and Soul Reaper? What?
that it was just my mother my mother's yellow dress. And speaking of yellow dresses,
Speaking of your mother.
oh, that was cruel. Thank you, dear.
That must be the legendary Constance. We've heard about her in the background, right?
That's the legendary Constance. I'm only her front man.
She's the mastermind.
She is the master. And she brought me a cup. I haven't seen this cup in a while. It's a Picasso cup that was given to me on my birthday by Christopher Hyatt a number of years ago. So I just thought I'd mention that. So that's how I started. I was always mystically inclined, because as a child I was confined to my crib, not because I was wicked, but because I had a bone disease that necessitated me staying in the crib until hopefully I outgrew this conditions of Hip-Perthes disease. And so I drifted in and out of consciousness 24 hours a day. So I didn't, sleep for 8 hours and was awake for 8 hours. And I was awake for 10 minutes, and then I was asleep and dreaming for 10 minutes, and then I was awake for 10 minutes, and it's 24 hours a day for almost 2 years.
I'm a little jealous.
And I liked it. Okay.
Napping all day? Okay.
And not only that, but the consciousness, the lines of demarcation of between conscious and sleep conscious and dream conscious and waking consciousness were all sort of melded together, and because I wasn't interacting with the family or anything, as I was growing and developing, I was still thinking thoughts that weren't linked to language, if this is making sense. Okay. I was still dealing in ideas that weren't tied to language, and so I was still experiencing infantile pre-linguistic memories. And so for want of a better term, I was still thinking the thoughts that I was thinking before I was born. And maybe these were thoughts that I had while I was floating around in the amniotic fluid of the womb, but they were images and visions and thoughts and impressions of me as various adults. I was having adult memory adventures. And so now we could probably say, oh, those are previous incarnations, and maybe that's exactly what it was if we want to look at it that way. But it was something that seemed to be happening right now. Mm-hmm. It was a reality that was happening right now, instead of me thinking, well, this happened in the past. No, it's something that's going on right now, and something that seems to be fluid right now, and thoughts that I'm thinking right now are affecting those lives, if you will. So it's a very weird thing. So I knew there was something really wild going on with consciousness and my own existence and existence itself. And so that's what sort of made me unready and unwilling to swallow uh, mainstream Protestantism and the idea of a God man or God sending a son to get killed, and it would seem like BS to me. And but I knew there was something wonderful going on, and that something wonderful that's going on is actually centered in me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that growing up, I was the class clown. I guess I have attention deficit disorder, or I would have been diagnosed with something like that. They would either diagnose me as that or possessed with the devil.
Either or. Can't be a genius. You're either mentally ill or possessed by the devil. Sounds very familiar. Get that a lot out here.
It could be two things.
Yeah, it could be the same thing at the same time. Please continue, sir.
And a mystic would say it's two things at once, And my mother always, whenever I was misbehaved, which was most of the time, she would always say that I was possessed with the devil. And that was a nice thing to tell a young man. But anyway, it really came to a head all through high school and stuff. I was active early on in the socially conscious events, and really focused on being against the Vietnam War and activities, anti-war activities and such. And that brought me into the orbit of the folk singing, folk music, Pete Seeger, Bob Dylan, things like that. And that sort of gave me an outlet for my musical, I won't say talents, but my musical interests. And it all came together sort of in a beautiful, perfect storm of social awareness and the possibility for spiritual liberation, as well as physical and social liberation. So I was seeing these things sort of in parallel. And by the time I was recording records myself in the very late 60s and early 70s, we had things like the Beatles going to see Maharishi Yogi, and the idea that social awareness was also sort of linked up with classic efforts toward spiritual liberation. And then when one evening I was playing at a club in Belmont Shore, California, and during one of my breaks, I went in the restroom, and a surfer-looking guy said, "Do you want to buy some LSD?" And I said, "I sure would." And I bought for $5. It was even almost pre-sugar cubed. It was in a capsule about that size, and who knows what the dose was or anything else. But I dropped that acid just after my last set, and I was getting ready to drive back to Costa Mesa along the Coast Highway. Long story short, I'm not going to say I saw God on acid kind of thing, but I saw myself on acid. And before that night was through, I knew that everything everything, I mean, everything with a big E is in myself. God, every religion, politics, it's all in myself. And if I was ever going to get any benefit or satisfaction out of my present incarnation, finding out more about myself was going to be the only thing that was worthwhile. Okay.
Was that where that legendary quote of yours originated from? Was it that moment where it's all in your head, but you just don't know how big your head is?
Ultimately, yes. And then when you start getting into Kabbalistic gymnastics, it almost becomes a mathematical fact. You know, it's but yeah, and so that's sort of how that began. And then, you know, I sort of the rest of the culture was exploring Eastern things like the Beatles and Maharishi. I got a hold of a wonderful book by Paramahansa Yogananda, just called Autobiography of a Yogi. And I think that book has turned on more people than LSD has. Okay.
That's a bold claim.
Well, the hippies will definitely.
It sounds accurate. It sounds accurate, I'm going to say, but there's a lot of people.
Yogananda's work really did actually open people's eyes without any need of like any kind of external stimuli. Just reading it would make you second guess everything. So please continue, Mr. Duquette.
And so that got me interested in yoga. And after a while, I knew that continuing too heavily on the psychedelic experience was, at least for me, was going to have sort of its limits until I ripened more myself. But it certainly was the big guns I needed to shake me out of my heretofore materialistic point of view on things. And I really needed that. But after a while, exploring the Eastern way, it was very inspiring, and I was very conscious that, yeah, this is the way to wake up. This is the way to go about things. But it felt like I was hardwired differently than sort of the Eastern mindset. It's, reading Yogananda, I just envied that point of view that it seemed came naturally to the Eastern psyche. I'm very comfortable sitting down for 5 hours
in full lotus,
and stripping away everything that I'm not. I'm comfortable. I don't even have to open my eyes to do that. I'll just do it systematically. And I saw, yeah, that works. I get it. I get it. That works. But it's like I'm hardwired differently. It's like that's Eastern software. Mm-hmm. And I got Western hardware here. Okay. And it's hard to play the Eastern software on the Western hardware. I like things outward. I like to work with inner things. I get analogies. I fall for it. I love movies. I'm a sucker. I go into that stuff that's inward stuff that's outside of me. I like to play with inward things outwardly, And so I started looking around for outward, inward things to to do. Is there a Western equivalent to the Tao Te Ching? Okay, I love the Tao Te Ching. It continues to inspire me and everything else. But I gotta go. I gotta pretend I've got Eastern software in order to, swallow that. So I started to look around for the equivalent of the Tao Te Ching, a Western software, and it seemed like the West was encumbered with all the stuff that I hated about Protestantism and Christianity, and the abuse of people depending on outward things, priests, priestcrafts, scriptures, dogma, someone else outwardly telling them what to do. That was such a turnoff to me.
Or someone else absolving all of your sins.
Oh,
like you don't get to have them anymore. Yeah, I always hated that.
How dare you take that away from me? Yeah.
Right. If Jesus died for my sins, he got ripped off because I'm still doing it.
So I'm having a blast.
It's sleight of hand, okay. But anyway, my father was a Mason, and I had one older brother too, and he was a Mason too. But my dad was the coolest guy, I thought, in the world. I still think he was a wonderful, noble man. But he was like an atheist. But he wouldn't say he was an atheist because he was a Freemason. And he was very proud of being a Freemason. And to tell you the truth, his Freemasonry was the biggest spiritual rock that he built his foundation of his life on. And Masons can't be atheists.
Yeah.
Okay. So he'd always say, I'm not an atheist, and then he'd go on say what BS all the religions really were. But anyway, shortly after my brother and I started to experiment in a very thoughtful, mindful way, experimenting with acid. I'd be his babysitter when he did it, and he'd be my babysitter when I did it, and we had wonderful mystical experiences that every brothers should have, or everybody should have. But anyway, he joined the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC, AMORC. And about the same time that I'm looking for this inwardness, okay? Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, well, that's nice. And he says they have monographs that you study, but there's a lodge down in Long Beach over here, and I'm active in the Rosicrucian lodge. And so he said, you ought to join them. They're like mystic Masons. Only there's women too, I go, that
big bonus.
That sounds spiritual to me, And so I joined the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC, started to take their little monographs and stuff. And I can't say anything bad about them, other than it's sort of slow, sort of turn of the century-ish kind of new thought kind of thing. But it's a step forward for a lot of people. And but what it really had that got to me were these self-initiations, that you set yourself up in a little temple that you make in your own bedroom or study or corner of your house. light candles and burn incense and such. And it's sort of a guided meditation on Egyptian themes, whereby you step by step initiate yourself. And in the process of the organization, it's just one degree to another. It's a step by step thing, and the formula of initiation is it seems innocuous enough, but it is big magic, and it goes all the way back to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and indeed it's formatted on the passing of the pylons in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. But anyway, that just absolutely turned me on. And so I joined the lodge and became an officer. And that's when I knew, I felt I'm home. I'm home in this temple. I love dressing up in robes and strutting around in the dark. I love this shit. And, oh, excuse me. I don't know if I can.
It's fine. Feel free.
We're completely off book. You can say it however you like.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, I was a young man, and most everybody there were elderly and blue-haired, and they saw new blood in my brother and me, and we became officers, and all of that, chanting mystic vowel sounds and stuff. It was an introduction to magic. It was an introduction to ceremonial magic, and I recognized it as such. But it was pretty damn lame as far as it later on, I discovered Aleister Crowley had the same attitude toward the Theosophists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the magic wand. Let me tell you about the magic wand. Okay. Don't use one. Oh, God. Yeah. You can talk about a magic wand, but you use it? Nah, that's crazy stuff, It was sort of like that. But I volunteered to be the librarian for a season at the little local Rosicrucian Lodge there in Long Beach. And they had a pretty good library because in the 20s and 30s and 40s, the Rosicrucian Order Amorc was pretty much the only, in the United States, was only game plan in town. As far as, Golden Dawnish kind of Western mysticism type thing. So they had a pretty good library. And they had one book called QBL, The Bright Exception by Frater Akkad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first edition signed by Akkad.
Wow.
And in mint condition, I'll add. And I was just starting to get interested in Kabbalah, and the Rosicrucians or at the time had an 8-week Kabbalah course that you could qualify for. If I think at the time you had to be a 4th degree to do it. But I was all excited about that Kabbalah course. And am I going off to? Am I babbling away too much here?
No, we'll call it out, please. We're waiting for what's next.
Babylon.
Please. This is a huge honor for us all.
I was just checking. I envisioned you having me shut off. Okay.
Well, but
Start
before we go any further,
further,
can I ask you one favor, Mr. Duquette, if you don't mind?
Sure.
A protege of mine named Caitlin is a real fan of yours, and she's asking if you could say hi to her. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Yes.
Hi,
Just have-
Caitlin.
all right. Thank you. I told you that happened. So thank you very much.
Oh,
for
we have a
being
couple comments on the. We have foolish fish on the line there.
Yeah, Foolish Fish. Then
Oh, hi,
from,
Foolish. I like
yeah,
Foolish Fish a lot.
yeah,
Thank
I'm
you for
gonna
the
add
kind
his
words.
question. It says, huge fan here, Lon. As you know, there would be no Foolish Fish channel if your books hadn't helped me bridge my initial understanding gaps. I'm eternally grateful. Little question: what would you say to young men, and also maybe as a separate question, young anyone other than men who are looking for initiation into esoterically inclined lodge or society?
Well, there's plenty to choose from out there. I would start by initiating yourself. Literally taking a literal ceremonial magic step to initiate yourself. And once you've done that, you set into motion uh, forces and energies that conspire to bring you into contact with the the group or system that is what you're going to need next. Okay, and nothing lasts forever. You don't have to when you join something. You don't have to, join this, keep the same organization for the rest of your incarnation, but you just need the next step. Okay, but the first step to set all of that in motion is to initiate yourself. That's what I would tell them. And then the flotsam and jetsams of the universe, of the occult organizations or the teaching systems or the mentor you need next will float your way. If that sounds magical and mystical and spooky, it is.
Well, you just opened up a balloon, right?
Question from Jasmine. Jasmine from the Philippines asks, for amateur magic practitioners of magic, what's their best advice you can give?
Stay an amateur.
Well, that's the best way of enjoying it, because you get too anal about it, you're not going to like it. Yeah, stay an amateur.
Well, yeah, when you don't think that there's any limits to your magic, there is no limits to your magic. So the best advice I could give is be comfortably, be comfortable. I won't say be satisfied, because that perhaps doesn't come until you dissolve into Godhead. That's what okay. But that you're comfortable with who you are right now, not who you want to become, not who you were and you're dissatisfied with, but just where you are right now. That's the best magic that I can magical advice I could give. Also, the going back to this initiating yourself, that's a good way to start. Now I was interested in this stuff for quite a few years before I bumped into the individuals and organizations that sort of specialized in the works of Aleister Crowley. Mm-hmm. And Aleister Crowley, to some people, seems like, well, that's postgraduate work. Okay. Well, in so much as you pretty much need to be pretty well founded in just the basics of magic and Hermeticism and everything else before you realize that Crowley may have been crazy, but he was wonderfully crazy. So I had a lot of that under my belt. So I was relatively not freaked out by Crowley and a lot of his stuff. But I still was all alone. I'm a solo practitioner. I don't want to be a solo practitioner. Sorry, you'll always be a solo practitioner. You can join 1 million organizations. You can be leaders in your cult, but you'll always be a solo practitioner. So you may as well get used to initiating yourself. When I first came into contact with people, Crowley's contemporaries, Israel Regardie, Helen Parsons Smith, Phyllis Eckler, Grady McMurtry. These are old timers, Crowley era old timers, Thelemites, OTO leaders, AA leaders. Before I ever came into contact with them, I found the oath of a probationer in Crowley's AA system. You can find it online any place. Okay, this is the oath you take at your initiation in the AA, which, in a sense, puts you on a tree of life, or at least at the very bottom of the beginning. But it's the step. It's the first step. The Corny saying is a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Yeah, but you got to take the one step first. It's almost over once you've taken the first step, because it's taken 80,000 incarnations for you to take that first step. The hard shit's behind you. Take the first step. And so I wrote out that oath of a probationer, and I did it. I took a bath and a shower and put on my best magical vestments and lit my candles. And at the time, I think all I did was do a banishing ritual of the pentagram and sort of center myself, and pictured myself walking through a gateway of an initiatory temple. And then I read that oath out loud. And I meant it, okay? And then I signed that paper, and I dated that paper. And then I rolled it up, and I stuck it in the candlelight, and I set it on fire, and I threw it in a fireproof dustbin and watched it burn. And it went someplace that I could never erase it. I could never take it back. It's out there. And it was within, I think, dare I say, 9 months before I was reciting that same oath and signing it in front of my AA superior in real life.
Wow.
Nice.
So, but the one that I burned was truly the real. You tell me which one was more real.
I think the first one, because that was like the internal manifesting in the external. Because you did the internal work, then it manifested in the real world. That's why I think it was kind of more just like a ceremonial thing that you did in front of your lodge master. But once the work internally was done, the rest, like you said, the master, the lodge, the system found its way to you. Am I correct?
Right. And that told me that my AA connection was only on the most superficial level hooked up to a superior whose paperwork was signed by someone whose paperwork was signed by Aleister Crowley,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
The actual paper, though, isn't the important part. I mean, someone could take the paper and throw it away, and that wouldn't make any difference at all. Your OTO certificate on the wall behind you, someone could take that and throw it away, and it wouldn't make any difference because it's the act. It's just the physical remnant of the act that was important.
right, the physical act is just the grounding of the genuine act. So, but anyway, I don't know if that answered her question or not.
Yeah,
But
it was an interesting backstory of how this all happened, and it's going to lead me now to my next question. In one of your lovely weekly podcasts, you shared that if there was one book you would take with you to a desert island, if you could only take one book, it would be your pictorial key for your ceremonial magic deck. And I have the deck. I don't have the book. Now I feel like a total klutz because I should have. But the thing is, I wanted to ask why. Why is it that book, from all things, the one, your legendary Half-Blood Prince copy of it, why would you say that that's got everything, exactly that one, Tarot of the Ceremonial Magic Handbook, why would you say that is the book to bring and leave everything else? Because I'm about to order like 50 of those to give to my students here for Christmas.
well, that's a good idea. I hardly agree with that.
Only 50?
I got kids too. You know?
Well, they'll wear them out and have to order one later too. The tarot is like the DNA of Kabbalah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Or Kabbalah is like the DNA of the tarot. But it's also like the DNA of all Kabbalah-based systems of ceremonial magic, and all the other collateral stuff that all of us are just in love with. Astrological things, magical things, Goetia things, Enochian things, and then of course tarot. So the whole idea about the tarot ceremonial magic, that I've got all the product.
Hint, hint, order now. Link provided below.
How much would you pay for
a signed copy?
Power like this,
But wait, there's more.
Don't answer. There's more. The reason that this would be my desert island book is because in my attempt to explain all of the co-related features on every deck of tarot cards, I had to have a single book whereby you could actually do magic stuff with the deck. So with the court cards, the knights, queens, prince and princesses, plus their aces, those 20 cards, you can easily build the Enochian magic elemental system, the Tablet of Union. Okay, and the Tablet of Union is 4 great archangels of the system and things like that. Well, it's very nice to be able to spell out their names and see their Enochian angles, squares, subangles, and things like that. If I can find, something like. Okay, there's the Knight of Swords. That would be fire of air. Okay, and fire of air, that P there is the subangle of fire and air on that elemental Tablet of Union, but it's also the fire subangle of the water tablet. And look at all those angel names. and you can tell who's the boss of who. And there's two divine names in that cross that rules them all. In other words, with those names, you can have the hierarchical pecking order of that particular sub-angle of elemental intelligence in the cosmos. Not only that, but there is two, for a sub-angle like that, two Enochian calls that are done in the Enochian or the angelic language that puts you into a trance state whereby working with those creatures doesn't seem like it's insane, okay? So in order to do that, you have to have enough information. You have to have those calls. You have to have the key to how the calls work, how you would actually set that card up to do that, to make contact like that. You would want to know what a classic banishing ritual of the pentagram is, or things like that, to sort of set you up for the whole ceremony and everything else. The entire calls are in here. The entire Enochian, all calls in Enochian and in English are here, plus the key to how to open it up. There's lots of great books out there that have this same information, plus other collateral information it's highly interesting. But if I was going to a desert island and just wanted one book that said, okay, I want to do that. Oh, I can't memorize. Oh, it's all in here.
That also has goetics too, right, sir?
Yes, that's the next thing that I was going to add to my sales pitch.
For those of you watching from Mysterium Philippines, now you know what you're getting from me for Christmas. Ah, there you go.
Okay. Now there's 36 small cards. Okay. The twos through, the twos through tens of every suit. Mm-hmm. Aces aren't small cards. Aces are just huge things. All the small cards, all the court cards, they live inside the ace. That's how big an ace is. As a matter of fact, if I can come up with an ace. This is the brand new edition, so it's okay. There's an ace of swords, okay? Now, those are all four subangles. That big square is the giant Enochian elemental tablet of air. And that yellow square there, that's air of air subangles. So that would be the Prince of Swords. And that blue one there, that is the subangle of water. So that'd be the Queen of Swords. And the Knight of Swords is that red subangle there. And the Princess of Swords, along with all the angels that live inside her and that make up her, like fractals, make up her characteristics.
Now, Mr. Duquette, I have a question about this deck. As a professional tarot reader myself, do you actually use this deck for tarot consultations if people want a reading, or could the energy be a little bit kind of like plugging into a nuclear generator to charge a cell phone? Because with all the sigils and names and stuff, I would use it for magic, but to actually read for somebody on if they're going to have a date this weekend, I'd be like, wait a minute, this deck is too supercharged. What's your suggestion on that?
I use it. Okay. It is so magical to me that yeah, I'd cook pancakes with it if I could. Okay. Tarot works because it's perfect. And this is just like putting anybody's tarot deck, your favorite tarot deck, I don't care, Alice in Wonderland deck, Halloween deck. Okay, if they're organized along these lines, these Kabbalistic lines of the 22 trumps, the 4 suits, 4 court cards, and 9 small cards per suit, then all of this stuff is already in that card, in your Alice in Wonderland deck. All of these spiritual forces are bubbling around. This is like a block of flats, okay, with a huge assortment of tenants living in it. Anybody else's tarot deck will work for you because the tarot is perfect. Or that's one of the reasons that it is workable to some people. Okay, it's because of the perfection of it. So yes, I use my own deck. Not only that, because when you're talking with a client or when you're reading for yourself, which I can't read for myself worth that.
Me too.
I lie to myself. I say, "Oh, the death card crossed by the tower. Oh, I was hoping that was going to happen." Yeah.
Reader's curse.
Not the happy squirrel, no.
Yeah.
10 of Swords. I'm gonna draw another card. I don't like this
when
card.
I read for other people, I can be detached and say, "Well, that's the way it is, you poor bastard." You know. But anyway, I use it. But each of these cards, also especially the small cards and the court cards, okay. Each of the 36 small cards are attributed to a decan of the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
So the 9 of discs, besides representing all the things the Knight of Discs represents, also represents this time period. And when you're reading for other people, many times the nature of their question concerns time-sensitive things, or that in the context of a particular reading, you could say, hey, was there anything happening in late September, that has any particular bearing to your question here? And you'd be surprised how many times a card that doesn't seem to make sense in the context of their question or the attempt to answer their question is triggered by the date that the card represents. And that's another thing that I don't remember all these dates. Okay. I use a Thoth deck too, but the dates aren't right on the card where I could say, hey, what happened back in September? That's just, is this when you left your husband? It's
nice. Yeah, it actually answers that proverbial question of when that a lot of clients like to ask in tarot
right.
readings. So anyhow, Mr. Duquette,
but hang on just a second, because I'm going to try to answer that Goetic thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's each of the 36 small cards has 2 Goetic spirits who by tradition are assigned to that decan also. Mm-hmm. One for the day and one for the night. And those spirit sigils are on the cards themselves, like right there. Okay, those are and their descriptions and the technique and the rituals for Goetic evocation are all listed in this book too. That's another reason why it would be a desert island book, because it's my Goetia book, it's my Enochian book. It's got all the Enochian calls and everything else. And then it's got the general Kabbalistic and astrological information on the cards themselves. So,
and where can we purchase this book? Is it available on your website, or there's like a specific way you'd request us to get it?
It is published by Magical Omaha, and the newest printing is out. Like what, day before yesterday? I assigned, because I don't want to toot my horn, but I toot my horn a lot. Usually, U.S. Games had it originally back in the 90s, and they went through 2 full printings of 10,000 each. They thought they'd quit while they were ahead. After, I don't know, 4 years, they'd sold out. And so it was out of print for a long time. And if you've looked for them on the internet in the last 2 years or so, oh yes, we've got one at $500, but 2 other editions. A friend of mine did what they call the Babylon edition, beautiful deck, but they only made about 400 of them or something like that. And Magical Omaha picked it up like 3 years ago, and they've gone through 3 editions already. And this is a new one with new little goodies in it. So go to Magical Omaha first. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you can go to Amazon. Okay. But if you go to Amazon, be careful, because there are Amazon sellers that are still trying to sell you the U.S. Games first edition. And for collectors, it's worth it. I don't get anything out of that. But they'll say, well, there's $500 and $600. No, you want to get the new one, the fresh one, the one with the fun stuff like those date charts in the bottom of the box, and it's like $39.95 or something like that.
Is there a deck and book set, sir, or you have to buy them separately?
You have to buy them separately. Magical Omaha sells them both. Mm-hmm. Weiser has sold the book continually since the beginning of the geological age. But Magical Omaha also sells the book too. Mm-hmm. And for a while, U.S. Games packaged them in a cool single box. And I was heartbroken when they discontinued that after a year. And that is something, if you find it on Amazon, if you're a collector, mm-hmm. Might be worth it to have on your shelf.
I got the first edition of the deck. I don't have the book though, so now I feel like kicking my feet. It's like I need that book too.
Oh yeah, no, you need the book. You can. You'll.
I'm sure I will. I'm actually going to scour Amazon after this. So yeah, congratulations on the re-release of the Ceremonial. A bit of cheering there. Yeah, that's just a bit of a cheer, because we're now going to our next segment, which is basically the current events. Now, Mr. Duquette, you've been in this industry probably longer than me and Wade have when it comes to occultism and magic. What's your take on the present status of magic and occultism around the world? Is it getting better, getting worse? Share whatever you want. Be as open and release your candor.
Well, it's as screwed up as everything else in the world.
Straight from the master's mouth. So why do you think it's screwed up as everything else in the world?
Well, it's like everything else in the world. It's still buyer beware. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean my products or products or anything else, but just people in general. And it's not magic's fault. It's not the system's fault. It's not the spiritual movement's fault. It just seems that we're in a very disturbing phase of human consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, Mr. Duquette, that magic is going to help society and the world more in the future, or is it going to take more of a hidden role in human society's development?
Well, it's not like a monolithic system that either can be blamed or credited with what's going on. The ultimately, if we back our camera up to get a wide enough angle view of existence, magic is simply part of the mechanics of the whole process. So, but magic as a system, as an identifiable system, whereby when you sign your marriage certificate, religious affiliation, magic, you know. We've never in human history have been so lucky as to have magical literature and let's say magical literature and an educational possibilities and opportunities than we have right now. Never have we have so many people been so prepared to grasp the enormity of the subtlety of what magic is about, and how each of us are magicians, and how each of us either rise or fall by the success or failure of our magic in life. But at the same time, never have we had to wade through so much BS and so much willingness on the part of civilization around us to abandon reality, to abandon a shared objective reality, to abandon all sense that a truth can be approached. And that we have to blame on a malfunction, a mercurial malfunction of communications. That your mother always said, "Don't hang out with those hoods. Those hoods they're going to influence you, And do you have to learn sex on the street?" Yeah. Well, not exactly, but usually you learn it from somebody that doesn't know a damn thing about it. And those people that don't know a damn thing about it have the same voice, have the same volume, have the same presence in front of the noses of other people that don't know a damn thing. And that is really, really dangerous. When you think that somebody at a Pizza Hut is milking children for their endocrine things, and you're willing to take a shotgun and go save them, things are really, really crazy. And when people ask me, is magic good for your mental health? I've heard about all sorts of magicians that just get into magic and go crazy. No, they're crazy to begin with. Mm-hmm. And magic, the art form of magic, the drama of magic, the accoutrements of magic are ripe for misunderstanding. magic, the study of magic, the practice of magic in your mother's basement, if you're already crazy, is not going to help. It's going to make things worse. It's going to amplify your pathologies, not heal them. So, in that respect, can you see why I'm not incredibly optimistic of the magic's role in the near future?
Indeed.
Plus the fact that society can so easily fall into a satanic panic kind of mindset.
Again.
Oh, we're already there. We're already there. They're bringing back the whole talk about the global satanic conspiracies and everything. And like when we had said with the when you do the self-dedication or the self-initiation, and you kind of send up that balloon, signifying that you're departing from a life of just the physical world. We're talking about people that have already had the mental state where they've departed from the physical world or from a completely physical world, and all of these things will be attracted to them just the same as they will as someone who did their self-initiation. So now you've got all these people who are just batshit crazy, but now they're getting open to all of these genuine occult influences and taking it a completely different way.
Right.
So there's more of it, but there's more of the bad stuff too.
I agree with you, Wade. It's like giving a already crazy person some meth. It's only going to make them some pure meth. It's going to make them even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and magic is a bad idea in the first place. I mean, that's something I've always said, is that magic itself, if people are looking at it like, hey, my life is a little messed up, I'm going to get into magic and that'll fix everything. It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't fix your life.
No.
It will open you up to a whole new... It's like saying, well, I want a better seat at the football game, so I'm going to become a player and get on the 50-yard line. Well, okay, you get a better view, but you also get sacked a lot.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Wade, because like one phenomenon here in the Philippines are what we call overnight masters, that they attend some zany retreat out in the middle of nowhere, smoke some God knows what herb, and they come back, and now I'm a master. Now it's like, now I'm beyond you, Lon, and I'm beyond you, Wade, and I'm beyond you, Rob, because I went there and did this vegan smoothie retreat with Kundalini Bali energies, and now I am an avatar. And it's like, you just got that this weekend. People want so many shortcuts, so many shortcuts to some stuff that we worked for. We the three of us have probably dedicated
their past life.
Years. And that's
or like they're awake in the past life, and they're suddenly, oh, I remember when I was an Atlantean priestess,
yep.
And now I'm an Atlantean priestess. You're like, great. Where's your house?
Exactly. So at the end of the day, it's very difficult, and this is one reason why we platform people like Lon and yourself here on Magic.tv, because we want people to see that the genuine teachers and the genuine articles are still there. There are a lot of quacks. I mean, there are a lot of people who are fly-by-night masters of healing, masters of tarot, masters of magic. And I'm like, well, how many years have you been into this? Oh, I got into it last month. And you're a master. Wow. I must have been taking the long route. You know what I mean? So I agree with you guys on that. And then it's those kind of people who actually start these satanic panics because they don't know what the F they're doing. And then people get hurt. People's lives go down the toilet. They see that magic shit is evil because they had somebody unqualified teaching it to them. So humility goes a long way as well. I mean, I don't know if Lon and you both agree with me, but that's my take on things on this end of the wood.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit for me always depends on what you see as their attitude after they become a master. Because there's the old Zen joke of like the master walking down the road with his bag, and the student runs up and says, oh, what happens when you become enlightened? And he puts his bag down, and he takes a deep breath, and he says, well, what happens after that? And he picks his bag up and starts walking again. But you see a lot of these people, they become masters and they've decided that's it. I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to let you guys donate money to my cult, and I'm going to have all the pretty young things gathered around me, and I'm going to marry them all, and I'm just going to do nothing the rest of my life. That is right there. If they're becoming a master specifically to reap the physical benefits of it,
They missed the point.
That's a big red flag.
What about you, Lon? What do you think about this phenomenon?
Well, I think things are going to get more dramatically interesting and uncomfortable for all of us who are at least trying to get to the core of our own transformations by means of the art of magic, because just look back in history a few short years. It's only been since the Theosophists have started to bring occult thought out of the shadows in the 1880s, the Golden Dawn, things like that. Prior to that, we were just one step away, just a century or two. They were still burning witches.
Yikes.
Burning witches, hanging witches. In Scotland, it was right up to what, 17 something.
Didn't they do one like last month in Africa?
In Africa, they're doing it right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when I hear people sitting, representatives, Congress people, talking about God, the devil, satanic, in reference to other political things, and these are people with influence, with followers who are so crazy and armed. It has only been a few short years that magic, occultism of any kind, alchemy, astrology, all of this had to be underground. It had to be secret. You had to meet in secret to talk about freaking mathematics. Now, do we think that we are so advanced that society as a whole could not descend into that madness at the drop of a hat? Sadly, I think for us to actually continue to be edified by this study in the magical art forms, we will, and our people that follow us, will probably be well advised to go a bit underground with things again. There's a reason why there's secret magic words and everything. It's not because they're dangerous. It's because you could get killed just by doing all of this. And when I think about the disturbing portions, the disturbing statements and images that are painted in the third chapter of the Book of the Law, that everybody looks at and says, "Oh, that's so wild and crazy and violent and the bloodthirsty and all of that." Crowley must really be a terrible Satanist, and that's awful. And what does all of this wild and crazy violence and bloodshed have to do with the New Age? Turn on the television, people.
Very true. Listen, you're preaching to the choir. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
There's people sitting in Congress right now that would happily pass a death sentence on all of us just to get votes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Just to get a job. That's insane.
So anyhow,
And
thank you.
it's not a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lousy job too, you know.
So thank you for this segment. We appreciate that one. Let's give you a round of applause because the last segment we're wrapping up is now what we call. Last segment for the show, Mr. Duquette, is Occultex. This is where the masters teach the listeners. We're hoping you could teach us something, anything from the bag of Santa Claus's occult tricks, the occult Santa Claus himself, Mr. Lon Milo Duquette. We are eager to learn something directly from you. Anything, sky's the limit. You have our 100% attention, Sir Lon Milo.
Oh, geez. I'll give one practical piece of advice for anyone that studies and plays with tarot cards.
Okay.
I've got one hyphenated word for you. Waxed paper. Or maybe that's two words. Waxed paper. Take a sheet of wax paper, put it on a very smooth, hard surface, and take every one of your tarot cards and rub it front and back about 10 strokes each. It takes a while to get through all 78 of them. But afterwards, your cards just spread out so smoothly. They shuffle beautifully, and they stay slick like that for a year. It's like buying yourself a brand new deck. You take your old flimsy, what is it, limp tarot deck, the ones that are so old that when you shuffle them, dust comes out of them. So old that you look at the side of them and you know you're dealing with a biohazard, okay? Tarot deck, but it's the one that talks to you. It's the one that works for you. Treat it. Give it a treat and wax your tarot deck.
That might be the most practical advice we've gotten on the show.
I agree. Really, really applicable. And you do this with your decks as well?
Yes. Yes, I do. And you don't have to do it very often. And you'd just be amazed. But anyway, that's my practice.
We have visitors?
Yeah. Yes, I've said too much. I've given away the ultimate secret. Oh, yes. Thank you, darling. Yes, I'm reminded. Get unbleached wax paper.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so. Thank you, dear. Wasn't that slick?
It's definitely
nice.
Okay, my other piece of advice really isn't a piece of advice. You already know it, okay? And that is the magic is you. The magic isn't in you. The magic isn't for you. The magic is you. You're the magic. And everything you do as a magician. Okay. And you can choose to dress any way you want. Dress in magical robes, dress in a business suit, don't dress. The magic is you. Every move you make is moving stars and galaxies. You are not even conscious as a conscious monad unit unless there was something that you must do. You have no choice. If you're here, you got a job to do, and you got a job to do that only you can do. Nobody else can do it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a need for your self-awareness. So while you're self-aware, be the best you can be. Be the observer of your own magical adventure. Everything you do is a magical adventure. That's the reason or one of the reasons that magicians, or at least at first, are encouraged to have a diary. Okay, you observe what's going on. Magic is happening all around you. When I wrote My Life of the Spirits or Low Magic, every one of those anecdotes could have just as easily passed by in front of me without me ever even realizing that that wasn't a magic event that occurred. And it occurred for the purpose of me taking one next step, big or small. You have to be the observer of your own existence. In my mind, that's the definition of a magician. It doesn't sound very magical, and it doesn't sound very sexy. But 99.99% of the population of this planet does not observe their own existence. They just react to shit. So
that's some sound advice right there. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you. Caitlin, my student, says yes, 100%. She's staying up till.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you. And thank you, Foolish Fish.
So anyhow, that pretty much concludes this season ender segment of our show. Mr. Duquette, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so honored, and I'm sure Wade is equally honored to have you here. And we hope we can have you again in season 2 if the time permits. We will always have a slot for you in Magic.tv. But with that being said, and now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the show, but we're still going to say our goodbyes in private. But is there anywhere people can purchase your works or listen to your music and stuff? Anything you want to plug before we wrap up the show?
Most of my music now is on Spotify. I think that's the best way to get my albums and stuff now. And there's a YouTube channel that posts all my daily blogs, which I have to do my YouTube show here in like 40 minutes. And just go to YouTube, just Google YouTube, because all my daily shows, and I've had a 15-minute to a 45-minute show that I do initially on Facebook every day. It's been, a year and a half, or almost 2 years of them every day. And of course, Amazon has a complete list of all my books and the books that I've edited and the books that I've written introduction to are available on Amazon. I've got one thing I need to plug. One of my earliest books, The Magic of Aleister Crowley, has now been honored with being a Weiser classic, and published in this new edition with some new material. This is
I think I met you at Ancient Ways when that book came out. You were doing a book signing.
Way back. Yeah, this is kind of the third incarnation of it.
Way back in the day.
Why, when I was young, we had to take LSD to get in. Like, now you just turn on a button and there you go. Okay.
Anyhow, what we're going to do, we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you very much, but don't go anywhere because me and Wade would like to say personally goodbye. And once again, also, you have a website, right? LonMiloDuquette.com. Am I correct, right, sir?
Yeah, but I don't even look at that. Just go to Amazon.
All right.
Yeah, Amazon's got everything, including my audio books and the everything. Music is even on there. So yeah. Not that I want to plug Amazon, but that's how things are most easily obtained now.
All right, so look up Mr. Lon Milo Duquette on Amazon if you want to support the artist. Of course, his written work will change your life, and his music will also inspire you. So once again, this is the season ender of season 1, Magic.tv, by me and Wade Long, with our guest of honor, Mr. Lon Milo Duquette. So see you this coming January for our first guest. I believe we're going to be having Jason Augustus Newcomb. But until then, happy holidays to everyone. Please don't leave. We still want to say goodbye. And good night, everyone. Let's just end the stream.